Steve Berg, RTP Ventures. It occurs to me that the people that have spoken have gotten here either because of something that they loved or something that they hate, whether it's Bell Labs or med school or passion for entrepreneurialism. I don't think I'm particularly any different from that, but I'm going to pull a couple of points along the timeline to kind of let you know how I got here and maybe help you understand why certain things are important to me. First data point was in undergrad and finance class, and the professor says, well, here's the first thing from Modigliani Miller, and here's the proof. But don't worry about the proof because none of you guys will ever go into investment banking. You don't really need that. Anyway, what? Did you just challenge me not to go into investment banking? All right, fine. We'll see about that. We'll have to flash forward a little bit. I end up going to, it was Chemical Bank at the time, building a management information system. And that's kind of, being at a large institution, hard to see it's like an entrepreneurial experience per se. But building a management information system within an organization, we're pretty sheltered and we're pretty much kind of doing what we're supposed to do. And it was, you know, tech, and it was, we implemented it in all the branches around the world, and that was pretty cool. So that was kind of like how I learned how to build things and how I learned how to, what it takes to build things and actually how to navigate bureaucracy, but that's another story altogether. So the gist of that was, well, I decided that's not really investment banking, that's just banking, right? How do I get closer to that? So I took a job on the buy side, a little firm called Train Smith Counsel. John Train actually turned out to be you know, this great author and very knowledgeable about portfolio theory, et cetera. But the gist of it was, the reason I'm there is, well, I've been using all these technologies, ought to be a pretty good judge of what the tipping points are and whether or not they're good investments. Turned out to be totally false. Didn't matter to me. I got the job that I wanted anyway, and one step closer to banking. Got there, and I realized that I'm listening to a bunch of sell-side, I'm a buy-side guy at the time, listening to a bunch of sell-side guys who are listening to the IR guy who might be listening to management of the company. Like, I'm way too far down the telephone chain to really be getting real information. So I'm like, all right, I got to move closer to the source of the data. So I went to the sell side, did that for about 6 years. That's not the interesting part. Turns out banking, not all that great, but nevertheless not so bad. What I got there, though, was B2B, enterprise, technology. And then I started to learn about the infrastructure around some of the companies that were public. Now we're getting interesting, getting closer to the data, getting closer to the ecosystem. This is good stuff. What ends up happening, comes along is regulation, which means that guys that were actually really good and really creative on the sell side weren't actually allowed to make a whole bunch of money unless they're in a bulge bracket firm, because you could basically only parrot what the company was saying. So along comes a company that I'm covering, and they say, you know what, you keep telling us about the ecosystem around our company, and we're really getting sick of it, honestly, and because you tend to be right and you're always in front of us. So why don't you just come to work for us, and you can do that for a living. One step closer to the information. Like it. Good. So I went to work with Emulex, which is a public company. At the time, it was about $1 billion market cap, $700 million in revenue, 500 people or so, and I'm doing strategy, corporate development. Good news about corporate development, deals, right? Strategic investments. Great. Strategy. Awesome. Psyched. This, again, one step closer to the information, and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, right. This is really great. This is what I want to do. This is what I'm enjoying more. We'll pick one more example. So I get basically in a big fight with the board of directors of Emulex when an unsolicited takeover offer comes. What that did, though, as nasty as it was, once it all worked out, gave me 18 months of runway. And I said, well, what is it that I want to do? Well, I really like the strategy and the strategic investment piece of what I was doing. So I'm going to just do that for myself. So I started a consultancy that's just doing that. And working with these entrepreneurs, building the strategy so that I was like, found it. This is it, the source of the information, the little guy who's changing the world. This is what I want to do. And I thought to myself, well, look, I'm New York based this whole time. I'm never ever going to move to the West Coast. My wife doesn't want to do that. I'm basically just screwed. I may have found the only single one job in venture capital that is B2B enterprise, and that's RTP Ventures. RTP Ventures is a $120 million fund here in the city, really wants to focus on early stage Series A stuff, really wants to roll up their sleeves, be involved, think strategy, think positioning, follow on with these investments, help these guys actually build value, right? So that's the story. How did I get from where I was to where I was? It's admittedly a hugely crooked road, but broadly, that's what we're interested in, that's what we want to do, that's why I'm here.
Thanks, Steve.